so that they pull the whole thing out. The rest is in the freezer, so I can just swatch out little chilled babies as I need to. Thanks, guys. All right. So you may be watching this later. I'll save this and put it up as a story, reel, whatever you call it. I'm going to talk about a recent article about a gin in Australia by an English chap, of course. A couple of recipe tips, martini recipes from some great books I've got. Jerry's mentioned some new content on the website. I'm going to talk about a couple of new releases, one gin and one something else, completely different. I'm going to talk about the event that'll come up in Melbourne, which is really exciting. So back down the highway after that, and who's going to come up in my next series, which I've been, if you're following, you'll know I'll do a chat every month or so with a different distiller or a different maker, and what's coming up, and some exciting news about the series. So let's get cracking, shall we? All right. So during the week, I noticed on LinkedIn of all places, and also here on Instagram, a gentleman called Oliver Ward. He's an English chap. He's an International Spirit Award judge. He's on TV over there, so all power to him. And he wrote a very, very thoughtful piece about the state of Australian gin. Now, fun fact, I've been writing about this for years, as you well know, and I found an old article of mine from 2020 posing the question, are we reached peak gin yet? Is there too much gin in the market? Because it's back in 2020, so I might pin it to the website, but you can find it anyway. And back then, there was something like 370 gin makers. And I was going, that's a lot, you know. And if we look at my website now, we're just shy of 700. So, and since I update the page every month or so, has new distillers come and go. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, about 16, 18 have dropped off since the start of the list about 12 years ago. So now we're starting to see some churn, and that pace will increase. Because as we've touched on before, you may know this figure, but of the market share, pick a number, say it's $200 million sales is in Australia. I'm going to pull up some numbers here for a minute. The word on the street when I talk to distillers is that gin's off the boil, right? Because there's a lot of gin out there, a lot of gin. So it is almost 700 makers all making multiple gins. And of that 700 makers, of course, there's going to be market share is owned by Four Pillars, Never Never, Archie Rose, and maybe one other. And then you've got the other 695. Cheers. Cheers to everybody in the business. So you're seeing a lot of rationalisation. Good evening, welcome. Talking about peak gin. Is it a thing or not? And new releases. So stick around for as long as you can. And otherwise, I will be posting this later. So you catch up on martini recipes, new releases, and a whole bunch more, because I do these things every month. And share some recipes with you as we go along. So welcome to the bar. If you're just tuning in. Yes, so this gentleman, Oliver Ward, it's a very well-written article. If you go to everglowspirits.com, the Australian gin market, and it quotes all the good people like Patient Wolf and Four Pillars, and it goes into the point about excess. So Australian gins are the third most excised in the world after, where are they going? Is it Norway? And I should know this, Norway and Iceland. So the distillers have to pay a tax of $105 per litre. So essentially what that means is when you buy your bottle of gin, a good chunk of that goes straight to the tax man. So you don't get 40 bottles of Australian gin. If you do, they're a small size, etc., etc. So they've got some structural challenges, but also just market share challenges as well. So again, I like to talk about the smaller players, the people doing really cool stuff. I'll come back to that bottle just in a minute. So yeah, Oliver Ward, everglowspirits.com. Interesting article. Goes into excise. I mean, they do get a rebate, but most distillers try to stay under the threshold of I think it's $500,000 thereabouts. But essentially, what his take home is for me is that there's a saturation in the market. The distillers I talk to are trying to find creative ways. So you're not going to get another London dry gin, for example. You're going to get a more flavoured gin, a more localised gin, another special niche gin. That's great, fine, no points of difference. A lot of the gin makes up the cash flow for distillers in general. They may be making a whiskey or a rum, but they're going to, in some cases, they're talking about 60% or something of their cash flow is kind of gin, period. They just need it to keep surviving, right? And we said this is not Australian gin, I should point out. But that's my paradox. I think also what's happening is that people know Australian gin now. Was a time I did masterclasses. Well, I do masterclasses Australian gin. But it was a time, say 8 years ago, where hands up who's had Australian gin, you get maybe a third. Either it wasn't available or too expensive. You go to a bottle shop and Australian gin's twice the price of a you-know-what brand from England. So there's that, right? I see it now. We walk into a shop, you want to, local liquor place, so to speak, big brand name shop, and you can see them doing the price point going, can I really afford $90, $120 a bottle? Because again, for the excise and other reasons, the shipping and the scale, as opposed to a subsidised or a mass-produced gin. But here's the thing. Might get around, or body gets around. And so purity is a thing, right? So there are certain brands, certain international brands, cheap, yes, but what is the quality there? Not so much. Anyway, what we're saying is essentially that Australian needs to find some new niches and some new localised optimisations, and that includes local bars, local people. Hello, me, for example. I've done stuff with a lot of makers. I'm independent, as you know, so I do a lot of stuff with different distillers. So Prohibition, we had a fun time, and 36 Short, and a whole bunch of others. South Australian, as it turns out. To activate their brand, of course, North of Eden is another fantastic brand. Good evening, everyone. Just tuning in. I'm talking about the state of Australian gin right now on the back of an article that popped up on a website called everglowspirits.com by an English gentleman called Oliver Ward, I should say. He's done a very thoughtful piece on the industry, where it's at. But I think the short version is this, is that it's going to be more challenging for people making Australian gin. Yes, it's now well recognised. I said 8 years ago, you may or may not have had it. Now a lot of people have had it. And they've got the one they like, and they'll go back to the one they like. They've got to think twice about that other bottle of $80, $90, $100 bottle of Australian gin or less. And so cost of living crisis, it's all part of the whole, right? Yeah, so it's probably news to many of you. Plus there's another factor of what, just literally real estate on a bar shelf. So if you've got a shelf on a bar, as a bar owner, there's only so many bottles you can have, right? So if you go to South Australia, you're guaranteed to see all South Australian brews, which is fantastic. As it should be. You go to Tassie, ditto. If I'm a traveller going to Tasmania, I want to see Tasmanian spirits in the bar. Tasmanian wine, that's why you're going there, right? It makes perfect sense. But if you're a maker from another state, you're going to Sydney, for example. Hi, I'm a guy from Queensland, they've got to think twice, because you take a bottle off, you've got to put a bottle, yep. So, all power to them. They've got some real challenges. So, look, I think, again, they'll be fine. They'll make it work. I think in the conversations they have, people are turning back. Sometimes they're shutting their cellar doors. They're cutting back their hours. They find a way to be more efficient. And as one distiller did say to the industry chat I saw, he said, well, you knew the industry you're getting into. You knew the challenges. So stop bloody whining and just kind of suck it up, honey, and make the best of the opportunity. Because what is happening is that gin internationally has made a presence. Right, it's done really well internationally, and that's carving away for other brand categories. Whilst locally now gin's great, awesome, love it. Now we're looking at other things, which I'm about to talk to in a minute. So stick around. If you just joined in, Experience Eats, Anywhere Bro, nice to see you. Welcome to your company. The bar is open on a very, 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 very hot Canberra evening. The aircon is on. I've got my martinis chilling in the fridge. Poor Cosmo's bored at the front door because he's been out too much. But let me change subjects now. So that's enough about pink gin. I want to share with you a couple of little martini recipes, and I've got a little library of books here.